She walked into the conference room wearing a $15 hoodie from Target, her laptop covered in peeling stickers, her sneakers scuffed from 2 years of daily wear. They laughed. The VP of engineering actually laughed out loud. "Did it send us an intern by mistake?" he sneered. What they didn't know was that Sofia Rivera had just solved the impossible problem that would save their dying company, and she was about to make them all look like fools. Vortex Tech's glass tower rose 40 stories above Palo Alto, a monument to excess where even the coffee machines cost more than most people's cars. The lobby gleamed with marble imported from Italy, and the reception desk was staffed by models who'd been hired for their looks as much as their typing skills. This was a company built on image, where Teslas filled the parking garage and Patagonia vests were the unofficial uniform. The executive floor reeked of money, her mess bags casually tossed on $10,000 chairs, Apple Watches blinking with stock alerts, conversations peppered with Aspen ski trips and yacht parties in Monaco. Sofia Rivera didn't belong here. At least that's what everyone thought. At 27, she was striking in her ordinariness. Long black hair always tied in a messy bun, dark eyes that missed nothing behind discount drugstore glasses, olive skin bare of makeup. She wore the same rotation of hoodies and jeans, carried a battered messenger bag instead of a laptop case, and ate packed lunches while her colleagues ordered $40 salads. But beneath that unassuming exterior was a mind that thought in algorithms, that saw patterns in chaos, that could write code so elegant it made senior engineers weep. She'd been at Vortex Tech for 8 months, hired through a blind technical interview where her GitHub portfolio spoke louder than any resume. The CTO, David Chen, had personally recruited her after watching her debug a competitor's system in under 20 minutes during a live-streamed hackathon. But David was rarely in the office these days, traveling to pitch investors while Vortex Tech hemorrhaged money on a product that didn't work. The company's flagship AI, Prometheus, an enterprise solution that promised to revolutionize data analysis, was broken. Catastrophically broken. It crashed every 14 minutes, generated nonsense outputs, and had caused 3 major clients to threaten lawsuits. The engineering team, led by VP of Engineering Trevor Mason, had been working around the clock for 6 weeks with zero progress, and they blamed Sofia for asking too many questions. The morning everything changed started like every other. Sofia arrived at 6:47 a.m., before the office filled with noise, and settled into her corner desk, the one they'd given her because it was near the noisy HVAC unit. She'd been debugging Prometheus's core module for 3 days straight, running tests on her personal rig at home because Trevor had denied her access to the company's premium servers. "Those are for senior engineers," he'd said with a smirk. "Maybe earn your stripes first." But last night at 3:14 a.m., she'd found it. The bug. The fundamental architectural flaw that was causing Prometheus to collapse. It was buried deep in the neural network's training loop, a recursive memory leak that compounded exponentially. She'd rewritten the entire module, tested it 47 times, and confirmed she had the fix. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed up the report. This wasn't just a patch. This was a complete solution. She attached her code, added documentation, and sent it to Trevor's inbox with the subject line, "Prometheus fix critical." Then she waited. At 9:03 a.m., the office erupted to life. Espresso machines hissed. Designers in $200 sneakers clustered around the ping-pong table. The sales team, sleek predators in tailored blazers, occupied the glass-walled conference rooms, laughing too loud, gesturing too wide, and Trevor Mason, all 6 feet 1 inch of entitled swagger, strolled in wearing a Rolex that cost more than Sofia's annual rent. He walked past her desk without a glance. By 10:30 a.m., Sofia's email remained unopened. She refreshed her inbox compulsively, her knee bouncing under the desk. Around her, the engineering team debated solutions that wouldn't work, band-aids on a hemorrhage. Nobody asked for her input. They never did. Vanessa Choi, a UI designer who'd made her contempt for Sofia clear from day one, sauntered past with her iced matcha latte. "Still using that dinosaur laptop?" she said loudly, gesturing at Sofia's 5-year-old MacBook covered in band stickers. "My God, does HR know we hired someone from a community college?" Laughter rippled through the nearby desks. Jake Torres, a junior developer who spent more time on LinkedIn than coding, chimed in. I thought that was a Goodwill donation drive when I saw her desk. Sofia's fingers stilled on her keyboard. Her face remained neutral. She learned early that reactions only encouraged them. But something flickered in her dark eyes, a spark that would soon become a wildfire. At 11:47 a.m., Trevor finally opened her email. Sofia watched the red receipt pop up, her heart hammering. 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. Then he stood up, his face twisted in something between irritation and disbelief, and strode toward her desk. But what happened next would shatter everything they thought they knew about the quiet girl in the thrift store hoodie. Rivera, Trevor barked, his voice cutting through the open-plan office like a knife. Every head turned. My office. Now. Sofia stood slowly, her messenger bag hanging from one shoulder, and followed him across the floor. Whispers trailed behind her like smoke. She's getting fired, someone muttered. About time, another voice agreed. Trevor's office was all glass and steel, transparent walls that meant every humiliation was a public spectacle. He didn't offer her a chair. He stood behind his desk, arms crossed, her email open on his massive monitor. Did you seriously send me this? He said, gesturing at the screen with disgust. Sofia's voice was quiet but steady. Yes, I found the bug in Prometheus. That's the fix. Trevor laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. You found the bug. You. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a condescending whisper. Sofia, we have PhDs on this team. Engineers from Stanford, MIT. You think you, with your whatever education you have, can solve something they can't? I tested it 47 times, she said simply. It works. It works, he mocked, his face flushing red. You know what this looks like? It looks like you're trying to make the senior team look incompetent. It looks like sabotage. He clicked his mouse and her email disappeared into the trash. Don't send me garbage again. And maybe focus on the tasks you're actually assigned. Basic documentation, instead of playing hero. Through the glass walls, the entire office watched. Sofia could see Vanessa filming on her phone, Jake smirking, others shaking their heads in pity. Her humiliation was entertainment. But Sofia didn't flinch. She met Trevor's gaze with those dark, unblinking eyes and said, the code is sound. When Prometheus crashes again, you'll know where to find me. Get out, Trevor snapped. Sofia walked back to her desk through a gauntlet of stares and barely concealed snickers. Someone had left a junior developer handbook on her keyboard, a joke about her supposed incompetence. She picked it up, set it aside, and opened her laptop. She didn't need their approval. She just needed to be right. And 72 hours later, when Prometheus collapsed during a live demo with their biggest potential investor, in panic tore through the office like a hurricane, they would all remember this moment. They would remember the girl they laughed at, because Sofia Rivera had a secret that would burn their arrogance to ash. The demo was scheduled for Friday at 2 p.m. Vortex Tech's last desperate pitch to Axiom Capital, a $4 billion investment fund that could either save the company or let it die. The entire executive team would be there. CEO Miranda Lawson, CFO Richard Patel, and of course Trevor Mason, who'd promised the investors that Prometheus was flawless. But Sofia knew the truth. Without her fix, Prometheus wouldn't last 14 minutes. Wednesday afternoon, she tried again. She printed her code documentation, walked to Trevor's office, and knocked on the glass door. He glanced up, irritation flashing across his face, and waved her away without a word. Through the glass, she saw him crumple her papers and toss them in the trash while on a phone call, laughing about something else entirely. Thursday morning, she emailed the CTO, David Chen, directly. Subject, critical Prometheus bug, solution attached. But David was in Singapore, 9 time zones away, drowning in back-to-back meetings. Her email sat unread in an inbox overflowing with investor demands. By Thursday evening, Sofia knew they wouldn't listen, so she did the only thing left. She documented everything. Screen recordings of her tests, version control logs proving she'd written the fix, time-stamped emails showing she'd tried to warn them. She saved it all to an encrypted drive and went home, her jaw tight, her hands shaking with suppressed frustration. Friday arrived like an executioner's blade. The office transformed into a stage. Axiom Capital's representatives, three stone-faced executives in matching Navy suits, arrived at 1:30 p.m., escorted into the main conference room, where a massive screen would display Prometheus in action. The engineering team scrambled to prepare, their panic barely concealed. Trevor barked orders, sweat glistening on his forehead, despite the aggressive air conditioning. Vanessa, tasked with running the visual presentation, frantically checked slides on her iPad while touching up her lipstick. Sofia sat at her desk, watching the chaos through the glass walls. Nobody asked for her help. Nobody even looked her way. She was invisible until she wouldn't be. At 1:58 p.m., Miranda Lawson, Vortex Tech's CEO, swept into the conference room in a cream Armani suit, her smile bright and practiced. "Gentlemen, welcome to the future," she said, gesturing at the screen where Prometheus's interface glowed. "What you're about to see will revolutionize enterprise AI." Trevor took over, his voice smooth with false confidence. "Prometheus processes complex data sets with 99.7% accuracy. It's been deployed with zero critical errors for—" Sofia checked her watch. 2:01 p.m. Prometheus had been running for 3 minutes. "And as you'll see," Trevor continued, clicking through a live data analysis demonstration, "the neural network adapts in real time to—" The screen flickered. A ripple of unease passed through the room. "To optimize outputs based on—" Error. The word appeared in red, small at first, then larger. "Error. Error. Error." Trevor's voice faltered. He clicked frantically on his laptop. The screen turned black. Then Prometheus's entire interface collapsed into a cascading wall of error code, a digital avalanche that filled the display with incomprehensible gibberish. The room fell silent. The Axiom executives leaned back in their chairs, faces expressionless but damning. Miranda's smile cracked. Trevor stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a suffocated fish. "Technical glitch," he stammered. "Give me one moment." But Prometheus didn't restart. It was gone. Crashed. Dead. Through the glass, Sofia watched the implosion. She saw Miranda's hand tremble as she apologized to the investors. She saw Trevor's face drain of color as Richard Patel whispered something urgent in his ear. She saw the Axiom representatives stand, their movements slow and deliberate, the body language of people who'd just witnessed a disaster. And she waited. The investors left at 2:23 p.m. without signing anything. The second their elevator doors closed, the office erupted into chaos. Miranda stormed across the floor, her heels like gunshots on the polished concrete. "Conference room! Now! Everyone!" The engineering team filed in, heads bowed, while the rest of the office pressed against the glass to watch the execution. Sofia stayed at her desk. She wasn't senior enough to be summoned to these meetings. She wasn't important enough. But then something unexpected happened. Miranda's voice, sharp with fury, cut through the closed door. "Somebody tell me how we just lost a $50 million investment because our flagship product died in front of the biggest fund in Silicon Valley." Trevor's response was inaudible, defensive. "I don't want excuses," Miranda shouted. "I want solutions. Can anyone in this room fix Prometheus, or are we dead in the water?" Silence. "Anyone?" Her voice rose to a near shriek. More silence. Then faintly someone spoke. Jake, his voice tentative. "There was—" Sofia sent an email about a bug. Trevor deleted it, but— The conference room door slammed open. Miranda stood in the doorway, her eyes scanning the office with laser focus. "Where is Sofia Rivera?" Every head turned. Fingers pointed. Eyes landed on Sofia's corner desk. "You!" Miranda said, her voice sharp enough to cut steel. "Get in here. Now." Sofia stood slowly, her hoodie wrinkled, her sneakers silent on the floor. She walked through the parted crowd, feeling the weight of every stare, every whispered question. When she entered the conference room, Trevor wouldn't meet her eyes. The senior engineers looked at their hands. Vanessa had gone pale. Miranda gestured at the dead screen. "Jake says you have a fix. Is that true?" Sofia's voice was calm, factual. "Yes. I found the memory leak in the neural network's recursive training loop. I sent the solution to Trevor 4 days ago. Every eye in the room turned to Trevor. His face flushed scarlet. It was, I didn't think, she's not senior enough to. Where's the fix? Miranda interrupted, her gaze boring into Sofia. In my email, also saved on my personal drive. Sofia pulled out her laptop, set it on the conference table, and opened the file. Lines of elegant code filled the screen. Precise, annotated, beautiful. Miranda leaned over, scanning the documentation. She wasn't technical, but she knew enough to recognize competence. Can you implement this now? If I have server access, Sofia said quietly, it'll take about 40 minutes. Trevor, give her full admin rights. Immediately. Trevor's jaw tightened, but he pulled out his phone and typed with shaking fingers. Sofia's credentials updated in real time. She pulled the keyboard toward her and began typing, her fingers moving with the fluid confidence of someone who spoke in code. The room watched in silence. 40 minutes stretched like hours. Sofia didn't speak. She didn't explain. She just worked, rewriting modules, compiling, testing, her dark eyes reflecting the glow of the screen. Outside the glass walls, the entire office had stopped pretending to work. Everyone was watching the quiet girl in the thrift store hoodie perform surgery on their dying product. At 3:47 p.m., Sofia hit enter one final time. Prometheus's interface bloomed to life on the screen, smooth and stable. She ran a stress test. The neural network processed data flawlessly. No crashes, no errors, just pure, elegant function. She looked up at Miranda. It's fixed. Miranda stared at the screen, then at Sofia, then at Trevor, whose career was visibly crumbling in real time. Test it, she said to the senior engineers. Everything. Full diagnostics. If it holds, we call Axiom back. 2 hours later, after every possible test confirmed that Prometheus was not only stable, but performing 23% faster than before, Miranda made the call. The Axiom executives, intrigued by the turnaround, agreed to a second demo Monday morning. That evening, as the office emptied, Miranda found Sofia at her desk, packing her messenger bag. Don't come in Monday, the CEO said. Sofia's heart dropped. After everything, she was being fired? But Miranda's next words changed everything. You're not sitting at this desk anymore. I'm moving you to the executive floor. Senior architect position, $240,000 salary, full benefits, and equity. You just saved this company's life, and I won't let you be invisible again. The news spread through Vortex Tech like wildfire. By Monday morning, everyone knew. The girl they'd mocked, the engineer they'd ignored, the woman in the cheap hoodie, she was now the highest-ranking technical employee under the CTO. Trevor Mason cleaned out his desk that same Monday. No farewell party, no goodbye emails, just a security escort to the parking garage and a terse, resigned note in the company Slack. Vanessa found herself reassigned to a windowless office. Her influence evaporated. Jake, who'd at least spoken up, kept his job, but learned to keep his mouth shut. Sofia moved into her new office, still glass-walled, but corner-positioned with a view of the Stanford Hills. She kept her old laptop with its peeling stickers. She still wore hoodies and jeans. She still ate packed lunches. But now when she walked through the office, people stood. They listened. They learned. The second Axiom demo went flawlessly. Prometheus didn't just work, it sang. Axiom signed the investment deal that afternoon, $50 million that would keep Vortex Tech alive and thriving. The press release credited groundbreaking work by senior architect Sofia Rivera, and within 48 hours, her LinkedIn was flooded with recruiter messages and speaking invitations. But Sofia wasn't interested in fame. She was interested in building. 3 months later, Vortex Tech's engineering culture had transformed. Dress code abolished, meritocracy enforced. Sofia led weekly code reviews where junior developers were encouraged to challenge senior ones. The ping-pong table was replaced with a mentorship board. The Patagonia Vest Brigade learned to judge work, not wardrobes. And late one evening, as Sofia was debugging a new module, her office door opened. David Chen, the CTO, finally back from his endless travel, stood in the doorway with a tired smile. I heard what happened while I was gone, he said. I'm sorry I wasn't here to back you up sooner. Sofia shrugged. You hired me knowing what I could do. The rest was on them to figure out. David nodded, then said something that caught her off guard. I did some research after that first hackathon where I found you. Took me a while to connect the dots. He held up his phone, showing an old news article from 5 years ago. The headline read, 15-year-old hacker exposes security flaws in Fortune 500 systems. FBI declines to prosecute. Sofia's face remained carefully neutral. Sofia Phantom Rivera, David said quietly. You were a legend in the white hat community before you even graduated high school. You could have worked anywhere, Google, Facebook, any government agency, but you chose to stay quiet. Why? For a long moment, Sofia was silent. Then she looked at him with those dark, unwavering eyes. Because I wanted to prove I could belong somewhere without using my past as a credential. I wanted to earn respect for the work, not the reputation. David smiled. Well, you've got both now. The board wants to make you VP of engineering. Sofia's breath caught. I'm 27. And you saved a company that MIT grads couldn't. Age is irrelevant. Talent isn't. She didn't answer immediately. Outside her window, the California hills glowed amber in the sunset. Somewhere in this building were people who'd laughed at her hoodie, mocked her laptop, assumed she was nothing, and now they answered to her. But Sofia didn't feel vindictive. She just felt tired and quietly proud. I'll think about it, she said finally. David left. Sofia turned back to her code, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The office below had emptied hours ago, but she was still here, still working, still building. Because that's who Sofia Rivera was. Not the girl they laughed at, not the legend from the past. Just an engineer who loved elegant solutions and believed that talent should speak louder than appearances. A year later, Sofia stood on stage at TechCrunch Disrupt, keynoting in front of 5,000 people. She wore a hoodie, a nicer one, but still a hoodie, and jeans. Her presentation wasn't about her rise or her vindication. It was about systemic bias in tech hiring. I was lucky, she told a silent auditorium. I had a CEO who listened when others wouldn't. But how many brilliant engineers are being ignored right now because they don't fit the Silicon Valley aesthetic? How many solutions are gathering dust in deleted emails because someone decided the sender wasn't senior enough? The applause was deafening, but the real impact came later, when Vortex Tech launched the Rivera Fellowship, a program offering full scholarships and guaranteed interviews to talented developers from non-traditional backgrounds. No Ivy League requirements, no dress code, just skill. Applications flooded in from community colleges, boot camps, self-taught coders who'd been rejected by companies that valued pedigree over performance. Sofia personally reviewed every portfolio. By year 2, Rivera Fellows had filed 47 patents and generated $120 million in revenue for Vortex Tech's expanding product line. Vanessa Choi left tech entirely, last seen managing social media for a yoga studio. Trevor Mason bounced between startups, his resume forever stained by the Prometheus disaster. Jake Torres actually apologized to Sofia in a coffee shop encounter. She accepted graciously and moved on. But the real ending wasn't about revenge or vindication. It was simpler than that. Sofia Rivera proved that genius doesn't need a designer label, that talent doesn't require permission, that the person everyone underestimates might just be the one who saves everything. She still works late nights, still debugs impossible problems, still wears hoodies that cost less than her colleagues' lunches. But now when she walks into a conference room, nobody laughs. They listen, they learn, they remember. Because Sofia Rivera taught Silicon Valley a lesson they'd never forget. Never judge a coder by her clothes. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, drop a comment about a time you were underestimated, and subscribe for more stories of brilliance breaking through. See you in the next one.